Greetings. Greetings. Used to be named Uncle Odd, but now I'm known as Uncle Vigilante.
Oh, shit.
And as you can see
by
the fact I'm wearing a gold chain.
We are live, and everybody out there is going to absolutely forgive me. Because why? Because I don't have my share screen going. So that was just all a waste. So I'm wondering, where's my share? All right. Okay. Everyone's just going to have to deal with it, and then it'll be worth it. I promise you.
Greetings. Greetings. Used to be named Uncle Odd, but now I'm known as Uncle Vigilante. And as you can see by the fact I'm wearing a gold chain with a Bitcoin on it, I'm kind of a big deal. Yeah, I'm a big deal. But there is one thing that my 43 attorneys that I just hired told me that I needed to say, which is a disclaimer. Don't take any of my advice. Don't take anything that I say on this show or any of my guests as sage counsel. Why? Why? Because I don't know shit. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It's your favorite uncle, Uncle Odd. You can call me Uncle Vigilante, Uncle V, whatever you would like. But what you can say with great passion is that's a dude who doesn't know shit. And that's why you tune in, because if I don't know shit, likely you don't know shit. And what I am committed to do is finding guests who do. And that's why we are joined today with a chaotic coder, an altcoin miner, someone who has a big boy job, who works for a Fortune 50 company and is in their IT, and he can explain more or not. But what I really am interested in, and this is why this show is kind of like a box of chocolates. You open it up, you bite in, and you never know what you're going to get, is I spend a good bit of time in chats and discussions on Telegram. And when I start to observe someone who I think is really, really smart, someone who's engaging with people, someone who's not a douchebag dick like I experienced recently. Somebody just came in and shut down a newbie. It really made me mad. And it's just like, oh, that's a silly question. And, you know, it's obviously you don't do your own research. And I was like, So this is not that guy. Chaotic Coder is one of those who answers people's questions. And I'm always interested in those people because they're way smarter than I am. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be open to coming on the show and just having a chat? And he gave me a little bit of his experience. And I was like, holy moly, you got to come on my show and you got to tell people how to not make the mistakes you did and how to be safe. So with that, I present to you the Chaotic Coder. Welcome to the show.
That's exactly right. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm serious. This is why I do this. It's like, I charge a huge subscription fee, which rhymes with free. Matt, wait a minute. It actually is free. So you get what you pay for, people. But, tell me a little bit about your backstory. I think you started in Bitcoin back in the 1880s or something, right? You're one of the people that go way back.
It's been a while. So being in tech, I listened to podcasts by Leo Laporte, which is Twit, This Week in Tech. And one of the subsections he has is the Security Now podcast with Steve Gibson. So about 7 years ago, he had Steve on and they were talking about Bitcoin. And he was explaining in deep detail all about Bitcoin. And he started up his own little miner. and walked away, came back and mined 50 Bitcoin, because at the time that was the block reward whenever the miners would kick out a block reward. And at the time you could single mine, which today you have to do mining pools, which is where all these miners come together, they point at the same direction, and they race to solve the problem before the other miner pools. And then whoever wins, those blocks are distributed. And then with Bitcoin, it's every four.
Can you answer one thing for me?
Sure.
When you mine, you're trying to solve a problem. How the hell do you know what problem you're trying to solve? I just don't get that. That just goes way over my head.
That's part of the algorithm. So you have, in some of them, it's a DAG file. It's directed acyclic graph file.
Okay.
And that fills up now. It has to go on a GPU. So at the time, if you guys are into computers, at the time it was all just the processor, just the CPU that you would mine with.
Wow.
And now you have to mine with the graphics cards. So you get those large graphics cards and you add that on. This is one of the miners I pulled out of the back. So you're solving a problem that gets progressively more difficult. And so you need better hardware every year, every month, whatever it is. And you need to keep improving.
I'm going to keep interrupted.
Go ahead.
Because this isn't sinking in. So if I just said to you right now, there's a problem in my head, go. To me, that's what it seems like. It's like, how in the hell do you know where to start on solving a freaking problem that's in some kind of,
So the mining software that you download will be particular in whatever coin you're trying to mine. So for Ethereum, there's ETH#. Right now, there's like Phoenix Miner. You can do all these different miners, and it's particular to that algorithm.
So the creator of Bitcoin or Ether or whatever, when they publish their blockchain, they also provide the software to the miners to be able to download and then 3, 2, 1, go. Is that right?
Yes. In effect, that's the way it is. People can also create their own mining software as well, but that's well above my pay grade.
Wow.
So they're racing to solve the cryptographic puzzle, and then whoever wins.
And is that just a function? Is that just a function of having your computer on the whole time running that software and just hammering it? And then, so when you talk about mining pools now, you're talking about you're teaming up with 100 other people.
Thousands and thousands
to be able to use the computer that's in your house, or if you have a business and you wanted to put 20 of these suckers in there, or if you're in China and you have 5,000 of them in one apartment. So thank you. That helps clear things up. So there's a problem which the software that goes along with this game called Bitcoin mining or Ether mining. If you are adept at computers and software development, which you are, then this doesn't scare you. Somebody new like me, I'm thinking an Uncle Odd out there isn't going to wake up now and say, I'm going to be a Bitcoin miner, right?
Uncle Odd could do it quite easily. Yes.
Okay.
You just need to have the right hardware to do it. And that progressively gets more difficult because one of the many mistakes that I made was buying the wrong hardware or going too cheap on the hardware.
I see.
So that was it. It's a real business, and people that get into it casually would just use their gaming rig or something. Play games or whatever. You could do that.
So if you had to do it all over again, you would have started at the very beginning with a much more serious set of hardware, right?
Serious approach. I mean, I've always been someone that sort of jumps into rabbit holes, looks for something new to learn about. So there was a book way back with that podcast, after I heard about Bitcoin, I created a wallet and then did nothing for years.
Wow.
Completely forgot about it.
Okay.
but I was trying to deep dive, and there was a book by Tim Ferriss who was like the 4-hour work week, and I started looking into different types of income streams, because you start looking into not being able to retire at some point, and you think, oh, the best way to do it is just to continually have income streams. You could get into real estate, whatever else. So I started a Amazon FBA business with some friends, where you buy stuff, you package it up, you send it to Amazon, and Amazon resells it as under their umbrella. I did art. So you could upload digital art, and then people could put it on a t-shirt or a shower curtain or whatever. I did the same thing for photographs. And then one day I'm coming home from work, and my son's like, Dad, I think we should get into crypto mining.
Wow.
And he starts to explain it because he was watching this YouTube.
And how old your son at the time?
At the time was probably 10 or 12.
Oh, I love that. That's so freaking cool.
Yeah. So he started in on it. And then I went out and did some research, deep dived. Andreas Antonopoulos is probably one of the big names. If you research him, his mind, he went through the whole Greek banking crisis when everybody went to bed Friday. And then on Saturday morning, they woke up and half or a third of their bank accounts were gone, because that's what the government decided to do.
Bail-in is what that was called.
It was, yes, the bail-in. So what I did is I researched ETH for mining and started mining with two graphics cards. They were 480 AMD 480s at the time, and it was like $20 a month. And I thought, this is so cool. I'm making $20 a month on this. And then it started to go up and up and up, because it was a bull market, and I didn't understand the market structures and the dynamics, the 4-year dynamic that happens all around the halving of Bitcoin. And while Bitcoin is making its monster moves, the altcoins are having their little mini cycles at the same time. And I didn't understand any of that.
The altcoins follow the Bitcoin.
Yes.
In their bull market has been the historical trend, right?
Yes. So I didn't understand any of that. And from everything that I was reading, it was all about how Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could change the world and flatten the playing field, and the evil banks wouldn't have their way anymore, and the Federal Reserve would have to figure something else out. So that's what was going through my mind the whole time as I'm holding all the way down, in 2018. So that was one of so many other mistakes that I made, and
okay, hang on. So the bull market, so it was at its top 2017, and when you started mining ETH, it was what year?
It was 2017.
Okay, so you mined, let's say you mined 1,000 coins of ETH, and then you're saying that when that bull market was done in 2018, there was a lead balloon on that 1,000, and it just started to plummet, right? And you rode it all the way down where it could have gone to zero. Who the hell were you, right? You didn't know.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So did you?
I thought it's all the right. It's going to zero.
Parachute? Did you pull, and sell any, or did you ride it all the way down and hold?
I held probably a third of it. I think everything else I was just getting out and thinking it's over. They're wrong. I didn't know what to do. So it did have, here's what like the Bitcoin miner looks like. That's a application ASIC miner. So application specific integrated circuit.
Okay.
And there's the giant power supply. So this would sit there and mine 4.7 terahashes for the Bitcoin miner. So, and it would flip my breaker constantly in the house.
Oh, wow.
So,
no kidding.
Because I would just have too many things between that and all the other graphics cards loaded up. So it's probably about 20 graphics cards that I had at the time.
Yeah. So you kept a third, you bailed on 2/3 of your ETH. And now you said that you weren't, you didn't understand halving. Can you educate us on what halving is?
Right. So Bitcoin has a schedule that every 4 years, the 50 Bitcoin as a reward that gets halved. So for every block that's discovered, that is then halved. So you're at, what is it, 6.25 or something is the current block reward. So I didn't understand that in the whole market cycle of why everything would go down, because it was way overvalued at the time, right? There's the
So that just dissuades anybody from getting into mining then, right? As it continues to have?
It wasn't so much that. It was more at the time I just thought everything was over and that was it. So I was looking at, $1,200 electric bills, and the wife's like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
I see.
And at that point,
when they say it takes a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin, they're not shitting us.
Right.
Okay.
And so miners are incentivized to have the best hardware and have the cheapest electric rate that they can get.
Okay.
So for winter, it was great because residential, they drop your electric rates. Summer, it's much higher.
Wow.
So summer was just brutal.
Oh my gosh. This is fascinating.
Mining and everything else. It was just brutal.
Yeah. Excuse me, because I'm sure you're the same, which if you go over a certain usage of electricity, then it puts you into a higher rate.
Right.
So, it incents people of just kind of, sweating a little bit instead of that ice cold air conditioning. Wow. So you lived in that higher rate when you were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you also hear about, there were periods or reports of people having problems with their electric company because they were mining crypto. And there were some areas in the country where they were saying, we don't want you to be mining crypto in residential, so that caused problems or whatever. So it was always the balance of trying to be quiet about what you were doing. At the same time, gamers hate you because you're taking up graphics cards that they would want to be able to be playing games with, and you're using it to convert electricity into cryptocurrency.
Wow. Wow, this is astonishing. So, were you able to mine Bitcoin that you kept?
Yes. I had several of that, and then at the time I didn't have the hardware wallets like the Ledger and Trezor that most people do now. So that was also back then. The wallets were not as good. You could accidentally send to the wrong address. The wallets wouldn't identify that it's not the proper type. If you're entering it in, you could just put in random things and it would just send it off and it disappears from your wallet.
Right.
So now there's just much better wallet support. And that's always been something they've talked about, is improving wallet support. And how are you going to send that to someone? Now you can get your own domain, unstoppable domains. You can get an Ethereum address tied to your name.
Okay,
so hang on. Vigilante.eth.
I did get UncleOdd.crypto.
Okay. Very good.
And so now I just reserved that for $40, but what can I do with it now?
You should be able to have that as attached to your name for people to be able to send you crypto. And also, if you wanted to set up a website or whatever else, that's how you can do that.
Well, but now that I have it reserved, then I need to send some ETH. Right. Do you know about how much it costs to actually then do that, to where they convert it to the blockchain or whatever?
No, I'm not. I haven't done that.
Okay. That's
That's definitely an improvement that's going to be,
coming,
I think, in the future.
So then that just means instead of, let's just hypothetically say super chats or something, you just say, hey, look, UncleOdd.crypto. If you like what you're hearing, if you want more, if you want to send a little love, UncleOdd.crypto, right? Not that that's what I intend to do. It's. I just thought when I heard that you could get a .crypto address, I thought, man, that's pretty cool. And I also got a .crypto address that I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it is one that I think is a premium. The one that I really, really wanted was. You have to get in line. So there are 3 other people before me. So I imagine it's going to get into a bidding war for it. But I was able to take that base URL and add what I really wanted to have. So it told a better story, and I got it for $40. So excellent. I'm like, I don't even give a shit if I get the other one, Right. but anyway, that's just kind of the forward thinking that now that I'm in this, I just want to figure all this stuff out. So that's very cool. Very cool.
So one of the other things that I did wrong was when I was mining, I didn't mine ETH all the time. I started looking at the smaller, newer coins. And in 2017, the big narrative was ICOs, right? It was initial coin offerings. And they would just pop up left and right. Hey, I'm going to do one about babysitters. I'm going to do one about pot. I'm going to do one about music. And so I mined something called Music Coin for the longest time. And I don't think it's a fraction of a cent. It's been delisted off of everything. So I mined and put a lot of electricity into coins that just don't exist.
See,
So
this is fascinating.
that's another risk.
I never understood this. This is so cool. So you're literally basically investing in hardware and software and electricity,
right,
to do
to support a network.
And so it's not unlike when you turn on, the television on the weekends and you see the I can't remember what the name of the show is, but it's about those mining operations where they go mine gold. And so this is just buying your equipment and going out, finding some territory. Right. And for you, it's different coins and just saying, okay, here we go. Let's start digging, get the sluice ready. Right. And that's what you do. And your investment is your time, your hardware, your software, and your electricity.
Right. And ETH with its prices now, if I'm just running like a single card, it's about $75 a month in ETH. So it's a nice dollar cost average. That was kind of my initial thought was I'm dollar cost averaging in. I'm not actually doing anything. And this is all, outside the network. So I just put it in when I want.
And you have the, the cumulative effect on that.
Right. Exactly.
So so you're in essence just dollar cost averaging into ETH without doing anything.
Or whatever project that you research and believe in. So that's probably awesome. A key is doing the research. Right?
Okay. So tell me through your journey, did you ever get hacked or did you ever lose any coins or anything?
I never actually lost any coins other than accidentally sending to the wrong address.
Okay.
So I've never been hacked yet, right? Knock on the wood.
Yeah.
Probably try to be very sanitary about how I am with my behaviors and
Okay. So are you a long-term investor or do you do this trading business?
I do both. So I have what I consider my HODL that I'm just going to keep for the next 30 years, whatever. And I keep adding to that HODL portfolio, but then yes, I get in, I trade alts, I do leverage trading. So
you do
a little bit of everything.
Okay. Would you help Uncle Odd here?
Okay.
So I'm 56 years old and I've been an entrepreneur and one of these guys that, there were was a time in my life I was a multi-millionaire and then I bet it all on a business and then 2008 happened and I went within 4 months of being a multi-millionaire to bankrupt and have fought my way back. But through my years, I've always been very, very focused on any investment vehicle I could, 401ks and mutual life, whole life policy, insurance policies and such. And so when I got into this, I'm like, back in January, I just took some discretionary money that my wife and I had, and I started with 30 grand and to be able to get into this, right? My largest holding is XRP because this dude said you need to buy XRP. So that's either going to be really, really great or it's going to suck. But look, you don't bet anything you don't have, or right? You don't invest what you can't afford to lose, I guess is it. So, but what I learned was, there are these things called self-directed IRAs.
Right.
And over the years, I have 3 IRAs, and over the years, I've watched them all kind of trade sideways forever since 2008. I mean, they've clawed back from there, but I mean, my 401ks back then, literally half. And everybody watching this who's, in their 40s or 50s, you know what I'm talking about, or 60s. 2008 sucked for everyone. And I think I'm probably in good company of other people who had to file chapter 11 or 13. And so when my eyes were when I woke up to this cryptocurrency business, now all of a sudden my mind shifts gears, and I'm like, I have all of these 401k, these 3 401ks, let me liquidate those. And I learned that there is such a thing called an LLC IRA, to where you can basically fund it with rolling over your IRAs, and then they set up the LLC for you, and then the initial trade, when you buy Bitcoin or whatever, they take a 7.5% chunk out of that. But that's it. That is it. Then they send you the coins. So they aren't the custodian of that. And so now you control it. So if you wanted to do what you're doing, which is the trading to where you want to time getting out at the top and whatnot, the usual concern of tax implications, if you're not within the protection of an LLC, you don't have that within this vehicle, this LLC vehicle. And so I want to get smart about doing that. I don't want to screw it up, at all, but I know that I can. So if all of a sudden Bitcoin gets to be like $75,000, there's going to be a pullback. So that might be the point in time I would go to USDC or whatever that coin is, and just sit there and let it percolate. And then when it goes down, and then you can also invest in real estate. And if you invest in any gold or silver, you actually get it sent to you. So it's awesome. So my question to you is this, and let's just use a round number just so that we can do the math, and say it's $100,000. Okay. What would you do with all of your experience? How would you allocate that within that LLC so that you're playing long ball, right? When you're in that protective vehicle, basically, you don't have to touch it if you don't want to. You can start withdrawing from it at 59.5. So in 3 years I could, and then if you don't touch it, you have to start withdrawing 4.5% of it when you're 72.5. So that, for me, that's a lot of runway to be able to work with, right?
Right.
So knowing that, how would you allocate that?
Okay, not a financial advisor, right?
Right.
Bitcoin, of all the volatile assets, is quite possibly the least volatile and the most sure. So a lot of people do something around a 60 or 70% to Bitcoin.
Okay.
Now, if you have an account like this where you're putting all these cryptos in, you watch that number jump up one day and you're so excited, you want to text all your buddies. And
Right.
then the next day it's half and you're thinking, what happened? So
Exactly.
If you look over the periods, the 4-year periods, we have these 40% corrections that happen all through a bull cycle, and you never know when it's going to end until you start getting into the Fibonacci growth curves, and you start looking through some of the stock to flow models that have been out now, and you really get a much better understanding. Like if you look at minor capitulation, and when it crosses, what is the other function? But it's like when the miners give up, they say it's too expensive to mine. That buy signal post halving from the top will be 120% in 2013 or 2011. and then it cuts in half every year. So that 60% and then 30%. And this year we should have a 15% or 15x. I'm sorry, my apologies. A 15x from that point to the top of the market, which puts us around $300,000 Bitcoin
Holy cow.
for this cycle.
Now, when you say this cycle, is that what's
the 4-year cycle?
Okay. The 4 years.
It all surrounds the halving.
Okay. So, but we're almost through this cycle, right?
Yes. So projected time could be somewhere in like September, end of September.
Okay. So when they're talking about it could even get there this September or this cycle, they're talking about the 4-year cycle, not the annual bull run bear. Right. Oh, thank you.
So if you look the BLX, so if you look on like TradingView and the BLX, you can see that. I don't know if I can even.
Here, I can make you co-host, and let me do that. And then if you want to share your screen, you can do that.
All right, tell me if this is just out of control.
I can see that. Wow.
So if you look here from bottom to top, that was 120x. And this is back in the 2011 halving.
Okay.
So that was and then the halving that occurred, hold this down, prior to the 2013 run. That's when it jumped from 50 Bitcoin to 25 Bitcoin, again, every 10 minutes. That was a 60x when you're marking from here to top of the cycle.
Okay.
Next 4-year, you're consolidating during that period. Then you have the next halving. And from there, it was a 30x. And that was the 2017 one that we just experienced, right? Then we had the drawdown, big drop here. And that was the point where I was like, this isn't going to work. I'm out. And I just said, whatever's in there, if it's gone, it's gone. Okay. And so that was right around 3K.
Okay.
Then we came back up. We had the Cerveza dump, right? You know what I'm talking about there?
Oh, yeah.
So then we're coming back up. So if we want to take projections here from the point where this is the minor capitulation, when they say I'm not going to do it anymore, and the price flips to a buy signal here, marking that point and taking that up. If you're doing the 15x, because we went from 60 to 30, this would be 15. So you're in the 300K neighborhood.
Okay.
So the other potential that we keep hearing a lot of people speculate around is it feels pretty hot this year, like it's really running up fast. In 2013, they had something very similar where they had a double peak. So we had this early peak, things went crazy. Then you can see how much it falls. And you look at that period right there, you're talking 80%. That's enough to make anybody quake, right?
Yes.
And dump. So then it just traded sideways for the rest of the year until the till the run up then in the euphoric period. So that's where everything went crazy.
So,
and then people sell out.
If I'm new to this and I get really, really close to that screen and you zoom in, I want to poop my pants because there's so much volatility. But I heard someone say somewhere, if in doubt, zoom out. So when you zoom out, what you see with Bitcoin is this has probably been the most prolific asset in human history.
Yes, it's outperformed any asset over the 10-year period here.
Yeah, but it is a roller coaster. But we like roller coasters. Most of us, I think roller coasters are fun, but you just have to be able to weather the storm.
Right.
And because the seas, just look at them, man. There's a lot of waves there.
And that's going back to the HODL portfolio. I think you had the guest Jaron on, And he
Yes.
was talking about how he just puts it away and doesn't even look at it.
Yep. Right.
Because I think if you're sitting through these 40% runs and you're having a correction of that magnitude
Yeah.
and you're watching how hard it hurts.
Okay. But
So
now, so I graduated, believe it or not, with a degree in finance from college. So now my financial brain kicks in and I'm like, okay, but the stats say that we should reach that 300 grand, right? And so right now we're at 50, but I keep hearing people talk about there's going to be a correction at 70, between 70 and 80. So how are they getting that? Because I'm trying to determine, is it really possible with my HODL strategy of knowing I want to be in Bitcoin with 60% of my portfolio? Is it possible to say, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on that 75. When it hits 75, I'm going to convert it to, the I'll just say cash, the green stuff. And then I'm just going to sit back and let it dip. And then I'm going to go back in and scoop it up. I'm going to be able to buy more. Or I just sit there and, like Jaron says, don't even think about it. And then in 10 years, it's going to be worth a shitload. But, and if you average out the times that you hit it with your strategy of buying at the top and waiting versus when you didn't, it's probably the same number at the end of the day.
Right. The swing trading where you're trying to pick tops and pick bottoms, the only people that pick bottoms correctly are proctologists. So it's best just to dollar cost average.
Oh, I love that.
And really avoid trying to do the market swings and all that.
So in my head, I should think when I'm taking that $100,000 and I put 40 or 60,000 into Bitcoin, just park it there and just shut the hell up in my own head about that. Just stop. Don't think about what ifs, right?
Not financial advice, but I mean, yes, the trading and swinging from tops to bottoms, you might be able to catch. I mean, people will sit there and they'll use the measure tool and go, oh, that was 80%. But in actuality, by the time you make a decision to do something and then you actually get back in, you're not picking the top and the bottom correctly. So maybe you're only getting 30, 20% of what the actual move was. So
exactly.
Do you mess it up by doing that or not? So Bitcoin will have a great factor, but the alts will always outperform Bitcoin as far as how much more you could make.
Right.
But that's one of the things that hurts me looking in the Telegram group and the new people coming in. I'm so fearful because every time the cycle starts up, here's where all the impersonators come out and the scam artists, and it gets terrible.
It's crazy. And I don't know who this one dude is in there. He seems like a nice guy, but he's the one that's promoting this, I don't know if it's pie or whatever the hell it is, but he's just been incessant. You can tell he's early in on something, but he needs people to sign up and he's gonna approve them and all of this. And it all of a sudden started taking over that TCV Summit chat. And and I don't know why they don't have any moderators in there, to bitch slap people like that. But that's not cool because you just never know. I mean, maybe he has good intentions. Maybe it's going to help a lot of people get in on something new, but you can't trust that. Anybody watching this right now, rule number one, anybody in the chat right now I'm nothing. I have less than 1,000 subs, but one day maybe I'll have 5,000 subs. And maybe then all of a sudden somebody's going to come in with an Uncle V with a screenshot like me saying, hey, DM me. I just got a newsletter. And for those of you that DM me, I'll let you know which coin they suggest. That's very plausible, right? We'll never do that. We'll never do that. But people do it all the time. They fall for it all the time. And that's why rule number one is any of that shit in any kind of discussion or whatever. Just if in doubt, don't. If in doubt, don't.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's urgent to do nothing. Period. End of story.
And it's very tempting for new people because so many times they'll look at Bitcoin and think that's way too expensive.
Right.
What's the cheap coin? And so you get a bunch of very inexpensive coins. I think Litecoin was always one that ran up. And then Charlie Lee, who started it and founded it, created it, it's more of a test bed now for changes that they want to make for Bitcoin and others. So
go ahead and stop sharing the screen so we can see.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't notice, but it's probably better viewing if. So the moral of the story, you just showed us that it looks like during this cycle we're going to hit 300 or could hit 300. Could you quickly explain to us newbies what this Fibonacci business is?
So Fibonacci sequence is mathematical sequence that you see in nature, honeycombs, shells, and strangely enough, it's tied into people's buying habits and behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching like, let's see which one this is. We were talking about investing inside your IRA or your Roth IRA.
Yeah.
One of those is the grayscale, the GBTC.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you could get into. So Fibonacci is this number sequence here. And if you pull it out and align it just right, you can see from top to bottom a good recovery period where people will buy back in would be like the 0.618. So it's used by a lot of technical traders.
I see. Okay, so it's like no kidding around, legit. For whatever reason, if you do or do not believe in God, there's something out there that nature sure seems to follow this Fibonacci descriptor or
Fibonacci number sequence, right?
Number sequence. Okay, so yeah. By the way, did you have a chance? Did you have a chance to meet my brother Sven?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't. You have to go back in to my channel and just go down there, and you'll see something that said Sven called it. So these charts just remind me of Sven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it took me a long time to finally concede that he's the smart one in the family, and he's been at this crypto stuff. You will never see anyone, view and manage and discuss charts like he does. I promise you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's just he's a talent. I see. Okay, Fibonacci. All right, so. Sorry, I just got derailed. And by the way, I just have to say it out loud. I'm so full of shit when I talk to you about Sven. I woke up and I saw it was this bull run, and it was a couple weeks ago, and it was like the Monday morning where it just went bam, it went down. And I had just gotten through. There's this one guy on YouTube. He's super successful. That he talks. He's like, "Hey guys, this is. Oh, you just aren't going to believe this. We are in this channel right now, guys. Look at the Fibonacci code." You know the guy I'm talking about, probably. But he gets so excited, and it's like you want to just run off a cliff. So I got on and I acted like I was Sven. Uncle Lottie, he took his dogs out for a walk, but this is Sven. And I started sharing the chart. Oh man, I don't even know if I can find it anymore, but it's a chart that is just like, it's just
lines everywhere,
chicken scratch everything. Right. So Sven pulled that up, and of course he could show you how he called this by looking at that chart that went every different direction. He just pulled it out of his ass. And that's what I feel like sometimes watching you guys who know how to read these things. But yeah, that's where I learned Fibonacci, the Fibonacci code from Uncle Sven, I think.
Awesome.
So yeah, just for a humorous break, you should go watch my brother Sven. Yeah. So by the way, I want to let everybody in the chat know that the intention here was to have a much longer show than it's going to be. We're going to wrap things up in 15 minutes, but we are going to have this chaotic coder on lots more if you're willing, chaotic coder, because I really am enjoying this and the education. And you're one of these guys that I think
is willing to pay it forward to us newbies, and we have so much to be able to explore. But everyone, I had right before the show was going to the grocery store, and I ran over a frickin' bolt. And so I had to get my car in my Jeep into a Firestone, so that they're repairing it right now. And if I want to get it for the weekend, I have a hard stop at 4:00 Eastern, but we will be back. So, okay, with that, just so everyone doesn't think I'm rude at the end of this. All right. So take it away. Where do you want to take it?
Let's see. Some of the other mistakes that I made, I guess I looked into, Dash. So some of the masternodes. I don't know if you've looked into masternodes at all.
I don't know what a Mr. node is versus a master node versus a pick your node.
So masternodes.
What's a node? What's a node?
A node is, well, you can run a Bitcoin node as well, and that's basically the validators. XRP has validators inside their system.
Okay.
Which is different, but we'll keep it with more decentralized stuff. So Dash was originally, I think it was Darkcoin or Xcoin first, then they renamed it Darkcoin, then they renamed it Dash. But a masternode is where you have enough coins, you can lock it up and become a validator for the network to say, yes, that's a good transaction. That's not a good transaction because he already spent it over here. So it's that same kind of thing, but then you are also creating new blocks in the sense.
So you're like
those nodes.
You're like in grade school. You're a hallway monitor. You keep track of where the kids go.
Right. And it's very similar to what you would have with proof of stake versus proof of work. So proof of work is where you have the miners that are actually doing it using electrical. Proof of stake is where you have enough coins locked up in a node that you're validating that way.
Okay.
And Ethereum is working towards moving to that direction with Ethereum 2.0.
Okay.
So eventually all the miners there, and you might see some stuff on the news about how miners are upset about that because ETH is their bread and butter kind of thing if they're mining ETH.
So it's screwing the miners.
Well, I mean, I think as a miner, I still think that it's better for the network overall, and you're going to eliminate the gas fees that are just punitive right now. If you're doing anything,
why are they so punitive?
It's just because that's the market. People want to pay more to be able to get in. There's the mempool. So when your transaction's sent out, it sits in a mempool, and if there's like TX Street or something like that is a fun little graphic that shows different cryptos and little people running from Ethereum or whatever and waiting in the mempool to jump on the train and go away in the block.
Right.
So you're waiting in the mempool, and then the miners are going to be picking whichever people are paying the most, right?
I see. Yeah. So the miner is the bouncer letting you into the club. Right.
Exactly. To
put the transaction on when you shake that miner's hand, how much of a tip you put in it depends on whether or not. See, that's how Uncle brain.
So it makes sense.
Dumb it down.
So it's the same kind of thing for masternodes. Masternodes could be faster depending on what their algorithm is. So I got into made the mistake again of trying to look at the least expensive one that I thought would be the most cost effective, right?
Yeah.
And ended up with masternodes that just have like the coins have gone to nothing.
Wow.
So mistake after mistake after mistake. I never got into what was the BitConnect. So I never made that mistake. The BitConnect.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that guy.
No.
Okay. That's 2017. That was probably one of the biggest scams that happened.
Oh my gosh.
BitConnect.
See, that's why everyone out there thinking that you're too late to the party, BS on that. Right. Those are the bleeding edge people who've been at this party, and they've paid for it dearly, many of them. So feel fortunate that you're on the leading edge still.
Yeah.
And I'll keep hammering that. We have not missed the bus. folks. So you just get in now, you learn the language. So back to my portfolio before I forget.
Yes.
So 60% hodl in Bitcoin, and then Ether. I have some Ether with my personal portfolio, but it's the gas fees and all that stuff started scaring the crap out of me. So I haven't dollar cost average anything into that. But would you suggest having a percentage in Ether in my hodl bucket?
Yes. I mean, Ether is going to outperform Bitcoin again. A lot of projections about it based on how many people are in the network, using the network, and that increase over time. You're looking potentially $20,000 ETH. It's very suppressed right now.
Wow.
So,
okay.
And then from there, you could have little altcoins. There's a lot of very successful altcoins.
How much in that portfolio? I did join a service called Moonstream, and I really, really, really like this service and this guy, Mike. And he provides once a month 1 or 2 coins that he has done his homework on. And he has a track record of like 55 out of 56 have been winners. It's just crazy. And now I can appreciate why. I now know the way he looks at it and how he goes about it. And he takes such a deep dive into these things. So the one that he provided to us 2 weeks ago is already up. Both coins are already up. One 30% and one 40%, just in 2 weeks. And apparently those who've been in his community a long time are like, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until, this is just a little baby bull move, right. Wait till you find the coin to where all of a sudden that dollar is now $1,200 or whatever. But anyway, I know in my mind now, I need to have some dry powder in my portfolio to sit back and keep in cash to be able to take advantage of those type things. So how much in a hodl portfolio or in a crypto portfolio would you have as cash to be able to make your moves at certain times?
Probably a good 10 to 15%.
Okay.
Because you'll be moving in and out of different alts. I mean, if you're getting into that.
Yeah. What percent out of that 100, what percent would you, so you'd have 60 Bitcoin, how much Ether? 20?
Probably. So it's all this stuff is time horizon and risk factor. Everything in life is a risk factor.
Yeah.
So keeping things on an exchange might be safer than trying to take care of it yourself, but it's a risk factor.
Right.
They might delist your coin.
Yeah.
The government may say, I don't like this person, suspend their account. This is all risk factor.
Yes.
So the risk factor, ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin. The alts will outperform that. I mean, in every cycle, there's also a narrative. So in 2017, it was all ICOs. Some of that was privacy coins. There were a lot of privacy coins released and a lot of Bitcoin forks.
Yeah.
Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond. And then
now it's these NFTs, right?
Right. And now it's DeFi and NFT. And then DeFi had a little mini cycle in like last October up through the recent period. So DeFi and NFTs.
What do you think? What do you think about Monero?
I love Monero.
You're a big fan of Monero.
Yes.
So is that one that you would have as a meaningful percentage in your portfolio?
It's almost more like true cash, in my view. You lose a little bit of fungibility with Bitcoin if they tie it back to a transaction that happened of some hack or drug deal.
Yeah, right.
So they may say, so one Bitcoin may not be the same as another Bitcoin. So
right. And there's no way is there a way to clean your Bitcoin? Or I think
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do coin joins where you're sending transactions and you can somewhat mask that.
Right.
There's like Samurai Wallet was one, and then some of the exchanges were blocking transfers from Samurai Wallet.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to have anybody mixing coins around. They want to be able to see your transactions.
Yeah. So basically, if you're a newbie out there, you're going to be tempted by what lots of people smarter than us might be doing, but just don't screw with that. It's just like the risk reward. It's just like, keep it down the middle of the fairway,
Exactly.
just let's go slow. And that's where, if in doubt, don't. Sometimes it's urgent to do nothing, and don't feel like you're missing out on anything. We have a lot of time here, guys. Or at least that's the way that I'm thinking it through. And because I went through probably, 3 or 4 weeks of great angst to where I really was feeling this FOMO that I wasn't, gosh darn it, I can't figure out the GUI wallet and how do I get the Monero and which way do I do it? Do I do it through an ATM or how do I blah, blah, and after a while, it's just kind of almost shuts you down. And then I'm like, and it took this mic for Moonstream to be able to just set the record and just say, take a deep breath. The reason why we only do 1 to 2 coins a month is because they want them to be really, really good. And we don't want you to feel the pressure of having to drink from a fire hose, because when you do, then you stay thirsty and you screw things up. So I think that's right. So, well, hey, you have given me a lot to think about with the portfolio, so I really appreciate that. Will you let people know how they can get in touch with you if you would like, or you can just kind of stay incognito? But I want to give that up to you. We are going to have you back.
They can reach me at Chaotic Coder on Twitter. It's probably the best way.
Okay, so follow Chaotic Coder. I'm going to make a note of that myself because I don't follow you yet. I follow you in Coder. That's awesome. But so everyone in the chat, please do me a favor. Go to Telegram, go to Uncle Vigilante. That's where you'll be able to find me, to where whenever we go live, I will, because it's not going to be anything that I'm going to commit to every Sunday evening or Saturday evening or whatever, because it's really going to be dependent upon my guests and what works for them. But if you are part of the Uncle Vigilante Telegram and then you click on the discussion, the chat that's there, that's where people are going to be starting to talk. And I will promise you that is going to be a place to where, because I've kind of reconciled it in my mind, I'm not going to provide any kind of information on Moonstream, but there are a couple of other services that I subscribe to that I feel like it's generic enough information that it would just be good to be, I think I can share it with you because you're all part of this odd family if you're in that Telegram chat. So shoot on over there. Also, if you like Uncle Vigilante, Uncle V, if you like me, search for Uncle Odd on YouTube. I have had lots of different Uncle Odd-esque shows. The people I call the Druid Babylonian bastards who run the show in this world, they don't like me very much. And I've had I'm on my 6th channel that's been banned. But if you just search for Uncle Odd, and if there's any still living out there, just subscribe to him, because that might be where I whack-a-mole up the next time. Because I do like talking about what's going on in this world. But, those of you, anybody who can fog a mirror right now knows that censorship is a real thing. And even saying that word out loud will probably flag the little bots, the little bastard bots that are out there. So, okay. So I hope you like this, guys. We're going to have Chaotic Coder on again. I will circle up with him, and we'll, what I'd like to do is start having some, and I kind of mapping it out in my head, thinking like a newbie. What are kind of the most important things, the process and everything, and then just have a show dedicated to that. Let's have a show dedicated to wallets. Let's have a show dedicated to, exchanges. Let's have a show dedicated to whatever. I mean, I don't know shit, so I'll rely on my guests. But what I can promise you is this: we're going to have Chaotic Coder on more. We're going to have other guests on whom I don't even know about yet. One thing I'm not afraid to do is reach out to someone and say, hey, will you come on the show? Max has told me he will come on the show. He says
Nice.
it's going to be a few crazy weeks. He wants me to reach out to him. He asked me a week ago to reach out to him in 4 weeks. So I'll reach back out to him. I'll get him on the show. Jeff doesn't do interviews, but he was able to, he said, I'll do one better. And he, if you go to the very first interview, that's Raphael that joined me. And so I'm a small channel, but I have a big mouth and and I'm just not afraid to ask people to come on the show. So subscribe, smash that like button, as they say. And we will see you soon. Hey, Chaotic Coder, thank you. I really
thank you so much.
And I really do appreciate all of the help that you provide others within the chat. It is just, it's meaningful. So, we appreciate you. You're paying it forward.
Lots of people out there with the best intentions. So you got to find them.
Right.
Yep.
Follow Chaotic Coder on, is it Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram too or no?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah.